So this is the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet, not on the satellite, not on terrestrial, not on cable. Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast only on the internet. This is approximately 20 past midnight into Tuesday, the 16th of August, 2022. So we've got, in this program, we've got updates on the UK Conservative Party and the ongoing revolution for democratic freedom and society in Pakistan being led by Imran Khan. And in Bangladesh, because of the rains falling, especially in the Sylhet region, and particularly in the Khoodeelaar area of the Gulabganj sub-district, the Khoodeelaar gas field and its surrounding areas have been affected, and landslides have been taking place, both around the Khoodeelaar gas field and also in other parts of Sylhet. So we shall be talking about these in addition to other breaking points that may occur. This is the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet, not on satellite, not on terrestrial, and not on cable. And let's see. Although the Khoodeelaar television channel is broadcast only on the internet, it's equally accessible across all the platforms because of technology. This edition of the Khoodeelaar television channel, broadcasting from England, UK, is of course under the theme of Baby Angel Geronimo. And it's being broadcast against the background of the ongoing so-called contest between the two British Conservative MPs for the post of the leader of the Conservative Party, Rishi Sunak and Lizzie Truss. These two have been competing. These two, Sunak and Truss, have been competing for the votes of the Conservative Party members in the United Kingdom, so-called, to become the leader of the Conservative Party. That rivalry in the contest continues for another few weeks. And it is known, because that has been the statement made by the bureaucracy that controls the Conservative Party internal votings, that the ultimate leader of the new leader of the Conservative Party will be confirmed on the 5th of September 2022. That leaves another 3 weeks. So that in 3 weeks' time, it may be possible that the current frontrunner, which is Lizzie Truss, may be overtaken by Rishi Sunak. We have been making this very careful observation from time to time because the Conservative Party opinion and the lobby and the main sources of conservative power in the UK are clearly of the view that Lizzie Truss will be a wrong choice. And they've been capitalizing on the relatively less risky Rishi Sunak. And as part of that less risky Rishi Sunak, they have been adding his, quote, experience as the former Chancellor, the former Finance Minister of the UK. So we shall see how things turn out. Going back to Pakistan and the events of the 13th and 14th of August 2022, Imran Khan has been talking extensively on television, on platforms, Zoom contracts he has been appearing on. And it appears quite clearly that Imran Khan has been gaining a sort of maturity and a kind of weight in terms of his kind of response. The response has been being increasingly measured, and that adds to the quality of the leadership that the people are looking at Imran Khan as providing. And they have been, of course, using the term which hasn't been used before, Qaed, about Imran Khan, and of course the Captain about him. But the word Qaed has been up to now for 75 years really reserved for the description of Muhammad Ali Jinnah as the Qaed-e-Azam, the main leader. And so the fact that Imran Khan is being called the Qaed also shows that across Pakistan politically, Imran Khan has convinced enough people, enough observers, enough commentators of his special appeal to the country. But Imran Khan has been, as I have said before, making incomplete or misleading comparisons about 1971, especially the Pakistan Army in 1971, confronting the people of East Pakistan. But Imran Khan has been making the false assertion that the Pakistan Army, about which he was correct, was confronting and challenging the biggest political party in then East Pakistan, which is the Awami League. Imran Khan is not referring to Awami League as such by name, but that's the organization he meant and means. Now, that is not what was happening in East Pakistan in 1971, as I was witnessing. The Awami League was not being confronted by the Pakistan Army. People, regardless of any party, and especially non-aligned to any party, any political party, were scared for their life, and they were making reflex reactions to often nervously spread news that the Pakistan Army or a unit of the Pakistan Army was about to hit the area, the village or the particular area and massacre people. That was the running theme. For most of the time, that was the main theme. There was no liberation war on the streets. I say again, on the streets of East Pakistan in 1971, there was no evidence of the liberation war. Remember? The evidence of the liberation war was invented post facto after the 16th of December 1971. And I'll come back to talking about that when I talk about the books that I bought from the Esplanade bookshops on the streets in Calcutta. Because those books I bought during 1972 were written almost electronically or at electric speed. And the main theme was, of course, dictated by the then Indira Gandhi fronted Indian administration. And the theme was absolutely, unapologetically of the line that India liberated East Pakistan and made it into Bangladesh. Again, the Indira Gandhi fronted Indian government in 1972 allowed the publication of hundreds of books and thousands of articles and essays in Indian media and Indian platforms, claiming that it was the Indian military that liberated East Pakistan and made it into Bangladesh on the 16th of December 1971. When I read the 100 or so books that I bought in Calcutta, I was staying at the, quote, Imperial Hotel in Chittaranjan Avenue in Kolkata. Chittaranjan Avenue has been renamed, I think. And the Imperial Hotel doesn't seem to be in place anymore. But essentially, the books written by mainly military people embedded, the journalists embedded in the Indian army, kind of churning out the line that India liberated Bangladesh. Now, so far, this is 51 years. No real consolidated force in Bangladesh has challenged the Indian claim in an effective way. Although there have been rumors and murmurs and kind of mild condemnation of the claim by India that India liberated Bangladesh from the Pakistan army, there has been no real refutation of the claim by the Indians that India liberated Bangladesh. As I said yesterday, Abd al-Kuffar Chowdhury appeared at a completely bogus kind of stage organized by the late Abdul Salik in Brick Lane. And Abdul Salik had no familiarity with that telling the truth. Abdul Salik was absolutely as unreliable as Richard Morey said Luther Roman was. So Abdul Salik was forever on the lookout for an excuse to create a pretext and a show so that he would be the focus of attention. So the Abdul Salik restaurant was the venue of the thing that allowed Abd al-Kuffar Chowdhury to appear and make a very false account about his deeds during 1971 for Bangladesh. Abd al-Kuffar Chowdhury was actually in India, in Kolkata. And Abd al-Kuffar Chowdhury was in no fit physical state to even lift a weapon. And he made an absolutely fantastic fantasy story. He was the phantom liberation fighter, creating a phantom story after the real events had finished. Abd al-Kuffar Chowdhury then used that occasion given to him by Abdul Salik to make a number of assertions that had nothing to do with any reality. As I said before, like his claim that one day or one occasion, while he was on the London underground system, he came across a former minister from either Argentina or another country in South America. And he had a long conversation with that minister. And he drew some morals and shared those with his readers, so-called Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry. Essentially, I am saying, and I said at the time, that the reality of traveling on the underground is such that you hardly speak to anyone, let alone meet somebody during a journey of half an hour or so, on average. Somebody who has been a former minister of a country in the South America, and then get their confidence so fast that they unload onto you their most secret thoughts. That is what Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry claimed in a piece one time. And I demolished it immediately, and I am demolishing it again, and I'll continue to demolish him in that way continuously. Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry is a parasite. I mean, he's the definitive parasite in the history of what is now Bangladesh in terms of the intellectual, not intellectuals, but he's an intellectual. He's a parasite on hire. Now, I was working, again, remember, I'm the only one who ever was on the staff of a national newspaper without receiving any money, and I didn't want any money, and I didn't receive any, and I would not receive any, and I would not write to order, either from the editor or the proprietor or whatever. I was at the time engaged on the Daily Azad. That was 1970, just the year before 1971, of course. And there was a raging war going on, war of wars going on, between a man who is now dead from Borishal. Well, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry is from Borishal as well. But this fellow Borishalite was also from Borishal, and his name was Akhtar Farooq. And Akhtar Farooq's physical skin, the pigmentation was so dark that he was called Khalamunshi. Well, especially Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry called him Khalamunshi. Khala means black, and Munshi is the writer or the kind of, yes. So he wrote, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry wrote a piece about Khalamunshi and called him names. And Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry called Khalamunshi, that is Akhtar Farooq, who had been a lecturer in Bengali literature, I think, at a college, before he was recruited by the owners of the then Daily Struggle, which in Bengali title was Sangram or Shangram. It's a Sanskrit based word, Sangram, this struggle. So Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry said, Priyo Khalamunshi, etc., etc. And then he proceeded on to call him names. Now, at the time that Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry was calling Akhtar Farooq Khalamunshi, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry was writing that on the Azad newspaper. I wasn't at the Azad at the time. I was at the other paper at the time. But I later soon shifted to the Azad. But anyway, so he went on to call names, etc., etc. And then Akhtar Farooq replied to Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry in the way that Akhtar Farooq was comfortable in doing. And Akhtar Farooq, let me say, was probably the most humorous public speaker that I have seen in the Bangladesh public speaking circuit. My memorable event at which Akhtar Farooq gave a very humorous, satirical speech was held at the Islamic Forum or Islamic Foundation behind the Baitul Mukarram Mosque in central Dhaka. And then Akhtar Farooq wrote a piece condemning Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry, and this condemnation went on for a few weeks. Now, the information is that while Akhtar Farooq was being condemned by Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry, Akhtar Farooq or his supporters disclosed the fact that Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry was getting from the proprietors of the Azad 50 or 250, whatever. It was not a very huge sum, but whatever he was getting was doubled in sum by the owners of the Ittifaq. And so, before he went to Ittifaq, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry actually wrote condemning the Ittifaq and condemning the editor, Manik Mia of the Ittifaq. But Manik Mia was as crafty as Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry. So what he did was to correctly read the psychology of Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry, which is absolutely greedy, mean, and completely shameless. He offered an increase of 50 takas or 50 rupees to Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry to write a weekly column for the Ittifaq, which Abdul Kuffar immediately accepted. Once he had accepted the offer made to him by Manik Mia of Ittifaq, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry set about attacking the owner of his previous employer, the Azad, Daily Azad, and the employer being Maulana Akram Khan. So Akhtar Farooq used that information and exposed the complete lack of morality, ethics, and lack of shame on the part of Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry. So when I came to London and years later, I had the shocking experience of suffering the spectacle of Abdul Salik inviting Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry to give a spiel about what he, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry, allegedly did in 1971. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry was completely doing exactly what he does. He is a selfish, shameless, greedy, pathetic, petty little individual. And that is what he was doing. He was going from one pillar in the Bangladesh liberation lobby, operating from Calcutta, to another. And he was pocketing little income from praising one from the other, etc., etc., which is what he did in praising Manik Mia at the Ittifaq, while gunning for Akram Khan, the former owner, former employer, on whose behalf he wrote various critical pieces condemning Manik Mia. So Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry did that, and nobody in the Brick Lane area that was present at the so-called event organized by Abdul Salik, nobody could challenge him, because nobody else, the people that were present in Brick Lane were people nothing to do with the way going to Calcutta. So they had not physically witnessed any of it, any of what Abdul Kuffar Chaudhry was claiming he had been involved in doing during the 9 months of 1971. So let's see where we are. So this is. So we have been on air, or we've been broadcasting for 25 minutes approximately. We have, I think, covered enough. Now this banner has got a spelling error. It says "and hunger" at root. There is an E missing from hunger. So you can imagine that we shall correct this anyway. So "and hunger" at root. The editor Muhammad Haque, which is me, 0020 GMT, on Tuesday, the 16th of August, 2022. Baby Angel Geronimo editions of the Khoodeelaar television channel being broadcast on the internet in association with and hunger at root. Now, hunger is happening across Bangladesh, and it has never ceased to happen right across the 51 years. And the fact that the Financial Times of London has got a South Asia correspondent, South Asia editor called Benjamin Parkin. Now, Parkin is a little infant who normally kind of indulges himself in Bangalore and files the occasional report, etc. But most of Parkin's reports are absolutely ignorant and dishonest, ill-informed, ill-researched. I mean, there was a woman from the Financial Times before there, based in New Delhi, Amy something. And she too was as ignorant as Benjamin Parkin has been. Now, Parkin is the one that I'm interested in now because Parkin has been kind of so-called following up the Financial Times, Financial Crimes, criminal lies against Imran Khan because it's about the foreign funding. The foreign funding that the financial crimes of all the outlets in the UK made against Imran Khan. Why would the financial crimes publish such an absurdity? That we shall be investigating, and it will emerge sooner or later as to who was behind it or who were behind that absolute scandal or scandalous lie against Imran Khan, the Pakistan Tehreek Insaf, etc. So because everything that the financial crimes has published about the foreign funding has actually aided the claim or the position or the image of the the family of the crooks, Nawaz Sharif. I mean, Imran Khan calls them the Churon, the plural of Chur, plural of thieves. Sorry, plural of thief, Churon, that is the thieves. And over in Sindh, in the south of Pakistan, there is the domain, that is the physical area that Asif Ali Zardari, Bemari, has been abusing for 30 years, while the Sharif liars family has been doing the same to Punjab for 30 years. The Pakistani Punjab, which is the bigger part of, by far the bigger part of the Punjab before the 1947 riots, etc., that separated the two. Now, the Pakistani Punjab is about 3/4 of the size and population of the Punjab before August 1947. And the Pakistani Punjab has more of the Punjabi traditions and resources, except the Sikh temple in Amritsar. I'm saying that Amritsar is in Punjab, but that is subject to checking. I'm not saying that after checking. I have to check it again. Now, the East Punjab, which is part of the Indian Republic, has got some of the original Punjabi traditions and traditional things, but the majority of the traditions and majority of the people are in the West Punjab, which is 3/4 of Punjab. In one of the videos published in celebration of Jagjit Singh, and that was an event organized to honor Jagjit Singh's memory. Jagjit Singh was a Sikh singer. The Pakistan television, or one of the television channels in Pakistan, staged the tribute. And the main artist singing the Jagjit Singh tribute song was the woman called Fariha Parvez. Now, Fariha Parvez's performance has been praised by many people in India, the Punjabis and non-Punjabis in India. but her physical beauty has been as praised, because all the people commenting on Faria Parvez say how beautiful she is, physically beautiful. And one commenter said that all the politicians are fighting, politically fighting one another and dividing the people, but the Pakistani people are so beautiful. We want them together, or the Pakistani people and Indian people should become together. And this is all because of the beauty of Fariha Parvez. That is according to one comment. Now, in well, other comments as well, there is a great singer, Sarawat, Pakistani singer Sarawat. She is beautiful as well. And she too has been praised. And she is very popular because one of the numbers that she has been singing has now been viewed by more than 65 million people or something, which is very, very rare in the kind of musical things. I mean, videos of plays, movies are highly viewed, but videos of songs are not as highly viewed. So that shows just how popular Sarawat is across the divide, India and Pakistan. There is another woman born in Uttar Pradesh, but now a Pakistani called Urusa Ali. Urusa Ali is the younger sister of a Pakistani singer who's died sadly. Urusa Ali is very popular as well and very beautiful. And these are people that Indian audiences, Indian people watching these performers are praising all the time. And there is this young sensation, Pakistani sensation. She's of Christian origin, but she was actually born in East. Well, she was born in Redbridge in London. And she's in her teens, I think, or maybe early 20s. And her name is, I'll check her name and I'll come to that. But she is a very talented singer. And she and another Khaled Beg are the ones that play the duet. And it is highly, highly, highly praised by people in India. So the other side of the kind of communal anti-Muslim propaganda by the Narendra Modi brigade is that there are ordinary Indians who recognize the beauty and the artistic quality and the talents of ordinary Pakistanis and Pakistani artists, etc. Well, there is an Indian artist who plays an instrument, but she is born or at least brought up. I think she's brought up maybe in Leicester in England. And she is Rupa Panisar. Rupa Panisar is also very beautiful, according to the people who have been commenting on her. And she, like Fariha Parvez, is very popular to the audience. So this is about the Punjabis, the West Punjabis, the East Punjabis. It seems that Punjab, when Rabindranath Tagore wrote that thing that has become the Indian national anthem, Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha. I mean, he pointedly said Punjab first, and then Sindh, then Gujarat, and then Maratha. So these are admittedly four of the key states or parts of India that are very significant in many ways. So we shall come to all of those discussions contextually later. But going back to India South cinema, I have made this point about Punit Rajkumar, who died, unfortunately in October, I think, 2021. Punit Rajkumar appeared in a film with the wife of the actor. I'm trying to remember the name of the actor and his wife. No, the wife's name is Pandit, and the actor's name is I'll remember that shortly and share this with the viewers. Now, in a very short scene, filmed in a kind of cafe in the sea, in the film, this Pandit woman remarks to Punit Rajkumar that a Muslim came and greeted Punit Rajkumar and swiftly left, and the conversation the Muslim had with Punit Rajkumar was in Urdu. And the Pandit woman said, that was remarkable. And Punit Rajkumar, instead of saying that is disgraceful comment, he actually took the praise in. And he prolonged the disgrace himself. Now let's put this way. The Hindi language, which is the dominant language in India, is contemporary, let's say, of the Urdu language. And the two languages, Urdu and Hindi, share about, in my view, 80% of the vocabulary. And with minor differences, the actual grammatical structure of the Sanskrit and the Urdu are the same or more similar. The written script of the Sanskrit is based on the Devanagari script, whereas the written script of the Urdu is based on a complex combination of Arabic and Persian script. But if two people were talking, say in the distant field in front of the observer, and they were speaking either Hindi or Urdu, an uninformed observer would be put at a severe disadvantage if they were to decide what language these two people were using as they spoke, as they chatted in the foreground. So Hindi and Urdu are complementary to each other, and any person in India who claims that Urdu is suddenly being dropped into the conversation from out of nowhere and is unheard of, or anyone who is speaking it as Punit Rajkumar did with this tiny Muslim man, is doing the original Urdu speaker a favor, meaning that her name is Radhika Pandit. So Radhika Pandit is an actress. Now, whether that particular scene had been written by Punit Rajkumar or by Radhika Pandit or by both of them or by somebody else who did the actual script is yet to be identified, because I'm not looking at the history of the writing of the script. But whoever wrote that and whoever directed that committed a completely undeniable crime against humanity, against the truth, against the culture, and the rest of it. So that's the Urdu language, let's say. So when the many films in the South languages are dubbed into Hindi, they are dubbed effectively. They are also dubbed into Urdu, because any Hindi dubbed dialogue is very easily understandable, accessible to the speakers of Urdu. The Radhika Pandit is the wife of an actor, established actor in India South. And she is formally well educated, etc. So for her to make that comment and for Punit Rajkumar to actually go along with that comment shows the ferocious disrespect towards the Muslim population in the Indian population that the leading stars and actors in the India cinema, South cinema, actually exhibit. Now that is something that will be a matter of the past, or it will become a thing of the past if the trend that Imran Khan is setting in Pakistan actually catches. Because I believe that what is happening in Pakistan today is already reaching, not by any active attempt, but it is reaching by the popular siding, because Imran Khan's rallies or jalsas, as I can testify, have been more interesting, very much more interesting than any of the created scenes in any of the films in South India. Especially the films, for example, acted in by the actor Darshan, because Darshan is one of the actors, male Indian actors, that delivers the kind of dialogue condemning the corrupt politicians that Imran Khan is excelling in. Of course, Imran Khan's quality is at least 5, 6, 7 times better than the script that Darshan has been having to act. But it's the same way. Not in addressing the Hindu antipathy to Muslims in India or the Hindu denial of the Muslims' rights in India. That is a different thing. But essentially about corrupt politicians, Darshan's kind of acting in the let me just remember the play or the movies have got very similar kind of contours and the words that Imran Khan is speaking would do any director of any film that Darshan appears in. Very proud indeed. What was the name of the film that Darshan appeared in with Urvashi? The young actress Urvashi Ratwala or Rotela. That is the film where Darshan delivered typical script condemning the corrupt axis between the Indian political establishment and the Indian crooked business, big businesses. Big business, of course, Bedi was played in that one by Prakash Raj, who in real life is a member of the Congress party, of course. Now, the name of the film I'm trying to remember. Let me just check if I can find it. I'm going off the camera for a minute to search for a device. So let me just see if I can find it. So I'm back before the camera and I'm looking at the internet. Let me just see if I can find that film. Okay, so there's Urvashi. Let's find Urvashi and Darshan. So she's Urvashi appeared with Darshan. Where is the movie of this? Well, they haven't given the name of this film, but I'll give the actual. Well, that cannot be shown here, but Urvashi has been playing. Of course, she is one of the physically most attractive South cinema actresses. She with Rai Lakshmi and few others, and she's very popular. And I will come back to Urvashi and Darshan later or in another edition. Going back to the South cinema's ignorance, as I have discussed previously and also in this edition, as evident or exposed or exhibited by the comment by Radhika Pandit to Punit Rajkumar in that particular film. That ignorance is untenable, unacceptable, and does disgrace the Indian South cinema. Looking at all the exhibitions, all the events that they organize to celebrate South cinema, it is clear that the people who set the agenda, decide the actual narratives in South cinema or about South cinema, don't recognize the existence of Muslims at all. There is hardly a Muslim actor or actress appearing on the main platform, either giving out prizes or receiving any prize. Ironic, isn't it, that most of these events, what called Saima Award events, have been held in the Muslim countries like Qatar, etc., in the Middle East and Dubai and whatever. And if we look at the revolutionary movement that Imran Khan is leading in Pakistan, then the other remarkable thing that comes across is this, that if a visitor from the outer planet arrived on the planet Earth and used the contents of the scripts of the South cinema as a roughly accurate guide as to what was happening in the subcontinent, especially in the populous country like India. If they took the contents of the scripts as an authentic guide, then they would be making a very serious mistake. Because the images of Pakistan that are depicted in the Indian South cinema, the images of Pakistan are only silent. There is no reference to Pakistan as a live country, let alone a country that has been producing in the last 5 months, 4 months, the absolutely unprecedented populous uprising in a most disciplined way that Imran Khan has successfully mobilized for democracy. And the varieties of the contents of the political activities under Imran Khan are absolutely stunning. They have produced, I think, about 100 campaign anthems, the songs for the campaign. And each one is a competitor to the next one, the last one. And they are absolutely mesmerizing because the words are original and dedicated and passionate. And they are, on any comparison, they are by far, well, the best campaign songs that have been produced and campaign song videos that have been produced. Not a single one, the so-called playback songs in Indian cinema, the professional cinema or the commercial cinema, can compete with what the Pakistani political movement and reality, as fronted by Imran Khan, has produced so far in the last, let's say, good 4 months. And the other thing is a disgrace about the Indian media, so-called media. They are absolutely jealous of Imran Khan, the media. Of course, Modi is jealous. But the Indian media is so jealous that they are not even reporting what is happening day to day in Pakistan under Imran Khan's leadership. For example, as I said in the last edition, the print, the news site called The Print, which pretends to be like a Guardian, kind of, well, we don't accept the Guardian's pretensions, but that is what that one does. It pretends to be a kind of Indian Guardian, which it is not. And the criticism they made about the hiring of the Lahore hockey stadium for the Jalsa on the 13th of August 2022, that is a disgrace. It's the hiring of the hockey stadium was the fault that the Print found in Imran Khan's politics. I mean, you couldn't go lower. What on earth is wrong with the hiring of the biggest possible available venue for a likely historic gathering, which it was absolutely the gathering on this 13th of August in the Lahore hockey stadium was absolutely perfect. So Indian newspapers, so-called, are failing. They're far behind, as are the Indian cinema, in terms of getting the narrative right. And of course, the Indian Morarji, kind of Narendra Modi, is far behind, and it is backwardness and stupidity. Now, if Imran Khan keep it up, Imran Khan can keep it up if he can keep it up, and he can keep it up if he is really dedicated and so on. Then the movement is really going to be the Hakiki Azadi movement. The Hakiki Azadi movement that should have been fought 75 years ago or for 75 years since August 1947 is going to offer Hakiki Azadi to India as well. So what we shall be doing, coming back to this in due course. Now going back to Silot and the Koilastila gas field, we are expecting during Tuesday a more kind of real report from our and the Hunger Project's Bangladesh representative Kutubuddin. But so far, what Kutubuddin has said to us about what's happening in the Koilastila gas field is that the hilly area, it's a hill, not very high hill, but it's a hill on which the Koilastila is. Tila is a hill, and it's breaking, it's collapsing all around, and it's dangerously collapsing. And so hopefully Kutubuddin is able to organize a video recording of this state of the Koilastila and then makes it available to us, and we shall share it in the next edition, or we shall share it also with the clips we shall publish with the Khoodeelaar Twitter account and Khoodeelaar Facebook account and so on. Now, what is happening with the lack of safety and protection around the Koilastila gas field is typical of the lack affecting all such places across the whole of Bangladesh. Now, as the people of Sylhet with a spiritual mind have always believed, at least for the last 700 years, since the saint Shah Jalal Mazarrad Yamani arrived sometime in the 14th century with his 360 awliyas, scholars, saints. People have believed that the arrival of the saints and the big saint has confirmed the place of Silot as a highly gifted, naturally gifted, blessed place. I mean, this find of the gas and oil in other places, other parts of Silot, merely confirmed that. This wasn't the case when I was growing up and when the saying was being spread within my hearing. For example, when the Haripur gas field caught fire sometime in the late 1950s or early 1960s, we could see the fire. Now, Haripur is miles and miles and miles and miles away, and there is no straight line through which Haripur can be seen from Chandrapur, which is where I was. And yet, huge plumes of fire and the red lights of fire were seen. How many miles would that be? It would be 20 miles, easily 20 miles, if not 30 miles. And we saw the fire 30 miles away. And that was during the time that it was Pakistan period. And it appears that despite the passage of Pakistan and the creation of Bangladesh in its place, in East Pakistan's place, these natural resources have not been receiving anything like the necessary protection and safety. So we shall be talking more after looking at the evidence and hearing firsthand as an update from Kutub and any of his colleagues that might come on the program. Even if they don't come on the program because of technicalities, we shall get a summary update and we shall broadcast these. So how long have we been on this program now? I think we can. This is just 1 hour and 54 minutes, 54 seconds. What was the other thing that we were talking about? We shall be coming back with all those other topics that we have not been able to cover. So that's 1 hour, let's say. We call this to an end, this particular one. So this is 01:20 hours GMT, exactly an hour.